Jeb will become speed, and we end up in a trajectory which is way too high. And hopefully we will see it. We start off with a big booster this time, and are now looking into getting the speed for the second part. Because we can run the test directly from the engine, we can now just stack fuel on top of there. With our new, slightly bigger fuel tank. And we look into what more we will need. And we realize, because we can use the run test window this time, we only need the 2-stage rocket for this mission. We look into the fins and we realize we have shiny big new fins which we want to put at the bottom, and this time around we are putting the small aluminum fins at the top, or aluminium depending on who you're talking to, but hey, yes. We check out what the toolbar does, and the arrow window throws up command module facing the wrong way. Because we didn't start out with the command capsule, it's thinking the command capsule is the wrong way around. Because everything is orientated. If the engine can be the wrong way around, the command capsule would think it's below it. Well, in actual fact, it would be above it, which would make things very hard to control sometimes. But since in this case it would only be rotated 90 degrees, it wouldn't really matter that much. It would just change the direction we would need to turn to get to a certain angle of rockets, of course. Fiddle around a bit more, and then we put the big fins at the top. And because they are misaligned, we sort of place them back again and check it out. And now we come up with a name, and we decide to continue on the morbid theme because Jeb has been morbidly fascinated, and now we call it the Speed Devil. We do want to take some science with us and start filling around with science packages. And we find this new item which I haven't seen before, and I realize it's a science return capsule, which your Kerbals can put science into, which could potentially be very useful and very cool for a science return mission. It could probably even be assembled in orbit, where your Kerbals basically have that thing in a crate, just put a parachute on top, and a heat shield at the bottom. Now we don't have heat shield yet, so for representation, this will be the heat shield. And you just drop that pod from orbit, it goes down and lands on a parachute, and you configure the parachutes to open when it's already slowed down. It's a very cool idea, which we will probably be using for the next mission. To sort of have a probe go up and get us some science, because we are not sure what it's like outside the atmosphere yet. It might be very dangerous. With great cool comes great responsibility, so since it's really cool, Jeb has already seen that, we have to be careful, of course. Alright, we whack on some science instruments, and we start looking into what more we could put in onto this mission. We might want to put an antenna on there. And batteries. We do not have solar panels yet, so we can't generate any charge. Oh no. Yes, no. And we decide to flip the decoupler the other way around, so the decoupler can act as a sort of crumple zone to protect the science bay, because it's pretty fragile. And if this thing were to land on land, it might break. So now we have the decoupler acting as a kind of crumple zone, even though it's not very impact resistant itself, it will slow down the rocket by braking. And we look at the kind of velocity we can push out of this rocket, and we realize we still need to use the decoupler to make it calculate correctly. And the numbers jump back up and tell us we should have plenty of fuel to get the mission done. But because we have plenty of thrust left, we also look into getting a little more fuel in there. We'll be slightly scaling up the fuel tank so we can fit more fuel into the same length. And of course, sizing up fuel tanks is something you could very easily do. Just keep the same wall thickness and just expand it out a little bit. And this way we now have extra fuel in there. And get that little bit of extra performance out of it. Mess around with the fins, because we don't want them clipping into the engine. We keep dragging them along until we realize that we can only do it by hand, and go into and just move them in there just slightly. Speed level pretty much looks complete now, and first the solid rocket booster will fire and get us up high, and so that the liquid fueled engine can get us up to the speed we need. And in this case, because we increase the fuel mass, we won't get as high, but in this case that's actually good, because we don't want to go that high. All we need to do now is construct a sort of launch clamp thing, improvised launch clamp, by scaling up some girders, and we realize we are pushing over the mass limit. So we scaled the girders back down a little bit, and we're still inside the mass limit now. We angle them down so they will tip over sideways and clear the rocket. Spec them a little bit. Put the staging in correctly, and we are ready to launch the Morbid Speed Devil. And it warns us that we do not have a pilot inside, which is caused by the same problem that the capsule was not the first part we started with. So it didn't automatically fill that in. So in this case it was very good that it alarmed us that we did not have any control on there, because it would have been very embarrassing. Because you also notice we have several parts left. We start looking at some parts we can bolt on, and we decide to bolt on some batteries and an antenna, so maybe this time around we can recover some science. We look at the Communitron 15, but as it's lighter, but we notice that if it cannot withstand dynamic pressure, which means it will break in atmosphere. So we go for this one, which won't be blown off of this rocket, because by design the other one would just break. Remove an empty stage, and the Morbid Speed Devil is go for launch. So it turns out that the rocket is a little wobbly because of its height. It's a really small base, and because we added a lot of mass by increasing the fuel tanks at the top. So we are sort of very awkwardly watching how it's wobbling back and forth, and hoping it won't tip over and explode. We do decide to let Jeb hang out at the hedge just a little more to get that extra little bit of science out of there. But we are very careful. We are very anxious. The rocket might just fall over. Fortunately, it does not. So we are getting ready, and go for launch. As you can see, we immediately tip over the rocket to start going sideways, and we notice we have gone to the South Pole. Because again, we have reoriented the command capsule. So the direction we were turning last time is now facing the sun. But for this mission, it doesn't really matter. As you can see, we're picking up a lot of speed, going really fast. Already going at Mach 1.5 at this point. And now we fire the second stage, pick up even more speed and go even faster. At this point, Jeb is very excited because it seems that he will finally be a speed devil. Quick to spam some science, and then we keep pushing harder and harder and higher. Watch as we now are going over Mach 2 and are picking up a lot of shock heating. We're waiting for the parameters, but we still need to gain more altitude. So we throttle down the rocket slightly to reduce the acceleration and keep it from burning up. Things are really heating up now, and we successfully run the test. Keep accelerating, things are heating up really quickly, and especially the materials base is heating up quickly. Now also the science experiments are heating up, and the rear fins are about to burn off. Drop down more, but unfortunately the science bay overheats and explodes. As you can see, the rocket's not glitched backwards. The science experiments on the outside are still open. The capsule's fine. At this point, we're not really worried. watch the ballistic trajectory it's going in, and as you can see, it's going out pretty high and far. We have a lovely look out of the window. And look at the fire licking around the capsule. Jebediah Kerbal is finally satisfied with his morbid obsession for speed. He has gone faster than any Kerbal. Maybe a little bit too fast, in fact. But his capsule is still intact, so he's fine. We're just not sure management will think the same. Get some pretty sights in. Look around us. And as we start going down, we decide to flip the rocket around this time to slow down. So the blunt edge of the capsule will face the atmosphere and break us down, and allow us to open up the parachute at lower altitudes. Because we might go fast enough that we will just instantly die. Check if we see if we can get some more science, but realize that it's the same upper atmosphere data. And we do have the source data. We tried transmitting this and successfully transmit it back. By now the capsule has really slowed down and we're slowly falling back from the upper atmosphere. The upper atmosphere starts at 18 kilometers, so we just re-entered the lower atmosphere. And I noticed we are falling really slow with the blunt edge of the capsule towards it, and we're also very stable. As I turned off stability assist, and we are still more or less passively stabilized. And of course we are by no means falling slow, because we are going well over 750 kilometers an hour. And in case you didn't know, you can really easily convert from meters per second to kilometers an hour by multiplying by 2.6. So you just take, for instance, 250 meters per second, and that's 750 kilometers an hour, and then some. It's a very good way to figure that out. And we go slow enough that we can open the parachutes, because we are going way too fast to just touch down like this. And the parachute slowly opens, it slows down the capsule to, well, about 20 kilometers an hour. Not super fast, but very manageable. We checked to get some science, but of course we have already done the ocean, so we're done here. We again fumble with the controls and think that it's probably because we still have it in S setting. We figured out to close it, and then we can time warp, so we can speed up our agonizing descent just a little. Touching down in the southern part of Kerbal Oceans, about halfway to the South Pole. The weather is lovely, and we get a great view of the ocean. Jeb certainly doesn't mind waiting here, unless a typhoon comes along. Then he may wish he could go home. But then again, thunderbolts and lightning may just be his thing. This mission was a total success, and I think we've satisfied the entire government for quite a while. Unfortunately, the scientists don't agree with Jeb and don't give him any science for pulling off this feat, which is a real shame. But you did get some science from the launch pad. We go into the contact window because we want to see any contacts we will be doing next. And we figure we will probably do the suborbital contracts and send a probe to gather science from high up outside of the atmosphere, which we will be doing next time. Well, that's about it for this episode. Until next time.